Monie Swartz is an author and PTSD advocate. She is a world-renowned expert on PTSD and service dogs. She is an Army veteran and mother of 3 beautiful babies. Her mission is to spread the message that PTSD is treatable and to shed light on other forms of PTSD that are less talked about, such as sexual assault and gun violence PTSD. She founded Service Dogs Strong, one of the first nonprofits in the country to pair service dogs taken from shelters with sexual assault survivors, both civilian and military sexual trauma survivors. Now she devotes her time promoting her new book, PTSD and What Helped Me, which is a step-by-step guide that outlines what she did to improve her PTSD symptoms and share hope with others that life is worth living with PTSD. So you're an author, you're an expert with PTSD, service dogs, you served our country, thank you, served in the U.S. Army. And you're also mother of 3, so
Yeah.
lots going on. You're also a survivor of a number of things. So having been a survivor of sexual assault and other traumas and things that affected your life in a negative way, even to substance use, and being able to overcome those challenges to do the healing work that you do now is just amazing. So let's go back to the beginning. Where are you from originally, Monie?
I was born in Maine. Yep.
And it's beautiful. It's as beautiful as you are where you are right now.
Yeah. No, and I've moved around a lot. And so, yeah, I've been all over the country, a little bit in Vegas too. So yeah, I've lived a lot of different places, but I've always been blessed to have met, kindred souls and really found a lot of people that have helped me on my journey. And that's where I feel now I'm at a position in my life with all the things I've been through that now I want to start giving back. Now I want to give back to other people who have been through similar things like the PTSD, sexual assault, military trauma. So that's where I'm at now. And in turn, it helps me, so to share my story, that's why I'm doing this, is to not only help myself, but to help others. So it's like a full circle moment.
And one of the things that you touch on too with your work is the trauma from gun violence. And we live in a time right now that's violent and traumatic for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, from children to people of all ages.
On that, the gun violence causes severe PTSD, just as any other trauma would. So I don't think the media is talking enough about that. That you can get PTSD from combat overseas, but you can also get PTSD from witnessing gun violence and being a part of that in the streets of America. So I like to shine light on that. There's people in America suffering from PTSD that aren't getting the help or the awareness even to get the help that they need.
And as an advocate, you help people through a number of different things. People get affected by trauma it could be from even just growing up in poverty. I mean, there's so many different, the illness of a loved one, death, divorce. There's so many things that trigger that.
Poverty in itself creates certain PTSD symptoms, and then it sets you up to not be able to actually get the medical care and the need that you need to deal with that. And you also have to be out of poverty to recover from being, raised in a poor family. So my book also touches on the need for financial stability to completely overcome your PTSD symptoms, because if you've worked through your trauma and what happened, but you're still struggling day to day to survive and eat, you're going to be depressed, you know, no matter what your trauma was and how much therapy you went through. And that's why I advocate too for service dogs for PTSD survivors, because service dogs are a very sustainable solution for PTSD, or a tool in your toolkit. And if you're able to self-train, then it can be affordable. When you have to go and pay to have it trained, again, some of these dogs are being sold for, you know, multiple thousands of dollars, you know, zeros, you know, through the roof. So that's my next project, is going to be kind of creating another step-by-step guide on how to self-train a dog and just put you on the right path. Sometimes you do need to pay to get a little help to train your dog, but if you can do a lot of the training yourself and learn properly, then it can cut down on the costs, and it can be a really good tool for people with any kind of PTSD.
And you were very instrumental. You founded an organization called Service Dog Strong, which allowed people to and had the training program so people could be able to train their dogs and shelter pets. Being able to rehabilitate an animal that's been abandoned is also like a double service, to be able to save their life too.
To take a dog from the shelter, or any dog, and to train it to be a service dog, it does have to meet very high standards. Service dogs are not pets. They're not meant to be pet-like. They're meant to be medical equipment, and to get a puppy or a 2-year-old dog, to get them to the point to be a service dog and be compatible in public in multiple different scenarios, hard situations, it takes a lot of training. So it's not an easy process to actually choose the dog. But the dogs that are in public, that are trained service dogs, you're going to tell. The ones that people bring out as pets, you're going to tell as well, because they might be unruly, that might be barking, and that's not how service dogs are supposed to be behaving in public. They're supposed to be completely attentive on the handler and on whatever the handler needs for their symptoms. And they're not to be pet in public, because that takes away, it's a distraction for the dog. When the dog is off duty, you know, the handler has the choice to allow people to pet them or not. But it is up to the handler. But yeah, the dog really has to go through, to take from a regular dog into service dog, they have to be put through a lot of tests. And a lot of dogs do fail the test, but that's what the Service Dog Strong program did. We found a lot of good dogs in the shelters, and it was great to be able to meet a few needs, to rescue a dog from a kill shelter, and to make them useful and rescue their owner in turn. It was a really great program, and I was really blessed to have the idea, to start the idea, and to found the nonprofit.
What do you need to have your service dog certified to become a service dog? So there are no legal requirements. The laws have not caught up to service dogs yet, and there is no required certificate or even training to have a service dog. So what that means is that if you need a service dog, it is on you to properly train your dog to become a service dog, whether that's self-training with YouTube videos or going through a local trainer that knows how to train dogs and you're working with them, or they train the dog for you. But service dogs are allowed in public. They're not ESA, emotional support animals, which are only for home and only dealing with emotional things, not medical things. Service dogs are for public and for medical needs. So your dog has to be properly trained to handle loud noises, public crowds, children, other dogs, noises, food. Your dog, to be a service dog, has to be highly trained. So however you come about that end and have your dog with the correct manners, that's what you're going to have to do to have a service dog. And also the service dog is there for your medical needs. So whatever training you do is going to have to involve training the dog to respond to your medical needs. And that is different for each individual.
And, you know, I'm on my next journey now, where I'm solo, still promoting the idea of service dogs, but not working with a nonprofit anymore. I'm on my solo mission, which is, I feel like it's bigger. It's not only promoting service dogs, but the message that PTSD is treatable. To be able to help a wider range of people, not just sexual assault PTSD, but, you know, military trauma, like you said, gun violence trauma. So I'm trying to promote that PTSD from any trauma is treatable, and it is manageable, and your life can have meaning after going through unthinkable things.
So as you go on further on in your journey, you know, you're spreading this message, you're working on this book that's going to be coming out for people, step-by-step guide. Where should people start? You know, sometimes folks feel like there's no hope, or they're alone. And the purpose of, you know, you sharing your story is to let people know that there is hope and you're not alone. And where should someone start? And, you know, whether they're military background or not, for seeking help and support.
So people should start, I believe, with first making the decision that the way they're living, the way that they're living their life is not working out for them. Maybe they're avoiding their trauma, they're avoiding the PTSD. But of course, in any recovery, acknowledgement of the issue is the first step. And then, you know, having an idea of how you would like your life to be. Say if you didn't have PTSD symptoms, say if the trauma never happened to you, just having that idea, that's the next step. But of course, there's no way to erase your trauma. And no matter how much therapy you go through, you know, your trauma has happened to you. So eventually, you know, things are going to come back up, but you can get to a place where it's manageable. So that's what you're going to have in your mind, is like a goal, you know, that, okay, I want to be able to, you know, to go out to the grocery store and not have a panic attack, or I want to be able to, you know, to go on a national TV show, you know what I mean? Like you have to have your own, whatever your own goal is. That's what you need to have in your mind, that I'm going to overcome this. You know, maybe I'm going to get out of bed every day, you know, like when I was first starting in therapy, that was my goal, that I'm just going to, you know, not drink myself every day into trying to forget what happened. You know, I self-medicated for a while, trying to forget what happened and not dealing with it. But the first step, I would say, is that you're going to actually head on say, okay, I'm going to deal with my trauma. I'm going to deal with the way that I'm coping with my trauma, and try to find some better, healthier coping mechanisms.
And you did that because you're here today on the Mental Margarita show, and you're able to overcome many things. And yes. What are a few skills, because just the getting out of bed, and even like self-care, and, you know, things that may not seem a big deal for people that may not have experienced this. What are just a few little small baby steps people can take to help?
Well, again, always have a vision of how you would like your life to look like. You know, you're always going to be focusing on your greater goal, but then you're going to have smaller goals, like, okay, today I'm going to take a walk, you know, today I'm going to, you know, I'm going to start an exercise program and really stick to it. So, you know, small goals, and then you have your long-term goal that, you know, I'm going to get my service dog, and then I'm going to be able to maybe go back to work. You know, I'm going to be comfortable where I'm going to have a job. I'm going to be comfortable where I'm going to go, start to drive again. It all depends on how your trauma affected you, and how, I guess, how far down the barrel that you went, because like I said, that right when I got out of the military, was my lowest point. It was a day-to-day struggle. But now, many years later, I look back at that time, and now I struggle with other things, but it's nowhere half as bad. Now it's struggling with public speaking, trying to convey my message the best that I can, even while I still have PTSD, but it's been much more manageable the more effort and, like you're saying, self-care that I put into myself, which was a lot of physical activity, a lot of physical care, going to the gym, even getting a facial, some things that made me feel more human. And the service dog is a huge, it could be a very good tool, because you have to take care of your dog. You got to take him for a walk, and you're taking the dog for a walk, but it's helping you, because physical activity has been proven to be even more effective than like a pharmaceutical means, for people with PTSD. So not saying don't use pharmaceuticals if you need that, but incorporating physical activity, which service dogs can promote, that can be a huge game changer for anyone with PTSD.
What was the turning point for you? Because sometimes people aren't able to identify that. They're so stuck and they feel like so trapped. What was that moment in time where you said, I can't live like this anymore. I have to make a change?
So I would say on my journey, I had a few of those, but one turning point that really propelled me into my healing journey was living with somebody else with combat PTSD and other forms of PTSD. Seeing people that I cared for who were going through PTSD, and seeing how it affected their lives, and seeing how their PTSD is affecting me. And not to mention, I didn't even know I had PTSD at the time. But seeing it from another standpoint, where somebody else is going down their alcoholic journey, all because of things that have happened to them in the past, still they're allowing it to affect their future. And that's kind of where I said, okay, well, thinking, okay, they can just go to therapy. Well, all right, why don't I go to therapy? I'll be the good example. So I started going to therapy, and then my sexual trauma from the military came out then. And I learned for the first time that you can have PTSD from a sexual assault or things other than, going to war. So that was one turning point. And then also when I got pregnant, I, of course, as being the wonderful mom I am, I wanted to be the best person I could be for my new, child that was about to be born. The eye therapy, the EMDR therapy, that was a really, really good therapy. And then trying to get a service dog. I wanted to just, when I had the trauma that they said, okay, you have PTSD. I knew there was a name for it. So then I knew, okay, now I know how to attack this. I know how to go about and find something that can help alleviate these symptoms. And so that was my next thing. I knew what I had, and I knew, okay, this is going to be my focus on getting rid of it, or getting rid of the symptoms that were affecting me most. Because just like my fighting spirit, which has kept me going, it's like, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to be the best person I can be for myself, but for my kids. And that was my other turning point, that I need to be the best person that I can be, and the best example. And I don't want to show my kids that I'm letting circumstances get me down and control my life now, you know? So that's where I had to really focus on any kind of therapy out there. Even meditation was really helpful, yoga, different forms of yoga has been really helpful, but just trying everything until I found my own solution to where I was happy and comfortable living a productive life and a healthy life. Because the self-medicating that a lot of people do when they're hurt, when they experience trauma, it's not healthy.
That's great advice. And because a lot of those other methods are harmful, and not to mention make you feel terrible, and it's add sickness and so many different things, put you at risk and
Yes.
And in danger for more trauma. So,
Yeah.
finding those healthy solutions is definitely the way to go. Oh, I'm excited that, we're going to have a chance to read your book soon and be able to absorb a lot of these tools and tips.
The awareness needs to come from more public awareness around the certain different forms of PTSD. There's a lot of focus on combat PTSD, but actually raising awareness on these quote taboo subjects like sexual assault, molestation, topics, and inner city gun violence. That's also something that's not talked about enough in the news. There's multiple shootings, daily that just go overlooked because they're in marginalized populations. But yeah, just spreading more awareness and talking about what's happened to you and making it not a taboo subject anymore will give survivors a better platform for them to say, okay, you know what, that happened to me, and I am having I'm admitting some self-medicating behaviors. My life is not happy because of what happened. That needs to be talked about, where there's no survivor shaming, and there's more awareness that even living in America can be just as traumatizing as going to war in a foreign country. So just the first step is really talking about these subjects that seem to be overlooked in today's media. So I really appreciate you giving me a platform here to spread the word that, no matter what trauma, what PTSD we've endured, there are steps you can take to not let it control your life on a daily anymore.
We're so glad that you're here on the Mental Margarita Show. It's called that for a reason. It's about finding our center, finding our escape, being able to live our best life. So right now you're outside in this beautiful place, this beautiful park.
Very nice. Yes.
And you've touched on a few things, that has helped you. But one last question: what's your mental margarita? How do you get away from it all? And it could be a fun activity, something that you do to kind of get away and just and find center again.
Well, again, I want to thank you for having me on the show. Like, I love your show. It's really, it's a different piece of the media. So I appreciate, that you do attack different subjects and a lot of subjects that maybe other people won't touch on. So thank you for that, but my mental margarita would be, definitely when I was going through PTSD would be the sobriety. Being sober for a long time was really healing for me. But also I'd say now that I've gotten over a lot of the bigger humps of my trauma, is laughter. Definitely being able to laugh about it, make jokes, at the trauma, at certain things that I might catch myself on, or just going to a comedy show. I've gone through so many heartache and traumatizing things, from even as a young child, that now that I'm in a better space and exercise daily, keep going to therapy, and give back to my community however I can. Now that I've kind of reached this this point in my life that is very therapeutic. I'm in a good spot. I like to laugh as much as possible. So that's that, you know. It's kind of a military thing too. They say it's like a dark sense of humor, you know, but definitely if I can laugh and make a joke, that's what I'd rather be doing than saying woe is me, and focusing on what happened. You know, we can focus on laughing and focus on the solution more, you know.
Right. Laughter is medicine, that's for sure. And we do feel better when we're smiling and when we have something to laugh at. So,
well, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for continuing your awesome work and your interviews of interesting people. It's a blessing, you know, so thank you.
thank you, Monie. Author, PTSD and What Helped Me, PTSD advocate. We're so excited to have had you, and we'll stay in touch for more updates with your book coming out and everything else.
All right, thank you so much. And I just
Thank
want to
you.
let everybody know that PTSD is treatable and to never give up.
Attention business owners, get your messages to Pahrump and Nye County by advertising with KNYE 95.1 FM, the big voice of Pahrump and Nye County. Call 775-537-6100. That's 775-537-6100.